Welcome back to Bitcoin Advisors channel. My name is Chris, bringing it to you here from Westlake Village, California, where it is beautiful weather in California. Happy Wednesday. And today is the day we've all been waiting for, right? And what are we going to do? We're going to take a look at Bitcoin. Why? He's the king. He's the one to rule them all. And yes, very, very likely, today is going to set us up for the direction of the market over the next few weeks and the next few months. And if Bitcoin does want to continue on with the downside party, the dump party, well, I suspect some of these very precious, highly esteemed altcoins, guess what? They will virtually disappear just like we saw in 2018 and 2019. They will become extinct, and they will sure give off a lot of their market cap, represented here by the Bitcoin dominance here, coming in at about 42% right now. We do have the fear and greed index still at a 20, we're ticking up to a 23, so we're still in the fearful zone, right? But pretty big tick up from yesterday at, I think, a 12. So, and yes, you know, Bitcoin did do what we said it was going to do, right? And it took out these short-term range highs, giving us a little extension up to our next blue box here. But, well, that was just a small short-term time frame move. And yes, today is going to be a very, very critical day, and that's why. Why is it? We've been talking about it for the past few days. It's Jay Powell Day. He's going to be speaking again today, letting us know his thoughts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So be aware of this event coming up in about an hour and a half. So hopefully the video will be out before then. And what to be aware of today, right around the event, you know, 15 to 30 minutes, right? We should get some really volatile price action, extreme moves in both directions, and probably some really easy trades on the periphery of those moves. So that's what I want to focus on today, and then talk about what actually matters once the price settles on our higher term time frame closures, right? Daily, weekly, so forth. So, and we're going to talk about how that's going to bleed into our analysis over the next 5 to 10 days to come. With that in mind, let's get started off with Bitcoin, and we already got it up in the background here. It's Bitcoin on the hourly, marching it up like a soldier, one stair step at a time. And we did say, yes, with an hourly closure above 37,600, we'd get us move up to 38,500, our next blue box. And I do suspect that we could head up towards the top side of that box here, especially with any kind of an hourly closure above 38,500. But what would invalidate this move for me on the hourly, I would say any kind of an hourly closure back below 36,000, that wick low, or if we just get a 4-hour closure below 37,000, and that would invalidate that move. Otherwise, I am expecting this to kind of march its way back up to the top side of that blue box. And you know, I'm not calling a full-on breakdown. I don't think that's going to happen today, but I do think we come down to around 33 to 34,000 and get a nice little bounce there. And what else do I want to talk about today? The daily, right? And the daily Stokes. What is the Stokes? That is our stochastic momentum indicator. That is our momentum indicator, crossing to the upside since the first time since January 9th, right? And daily Stokes are crossing up, but what else is happening right now? BBWP is pretty high. Not as high as we would need to see it on the daily. Is that the daily? Yeah. So daily Stokes crossing up, volatility expanding. We are still in the bearish control zone there, and that's kind of some hopium right there. But you know, so yeah, could Bitcoin get up to 40,000? I think pretty easily, right? But overall, this $40,000 level, if we get there on a daily, it's just a corrective rally off a downside move, right? Until one of the more critical regions, i.e. 44,350, gets taken out, more specifically for the long term. Until that happens, which we'll go over that in more detail in a second, but until that happens, it's going to be very, very hard to look at Bitcoin, right, as long-term bullish, right? At best right now, you're looking at this on a daily, and we are ranging between 30 and 60,000 at worst, this is distribution, long-term distribution. And again, what is our first area we got to take out would be this area, this guy right here at 44,100. Why is that? Well, let's take our fib retracement out here and go back to the daily breakdown level and go wick to wick. And you can see that's coming in right there almost exactly with the 0.5 fib retracement. And that would be our first, hey, maybe the party's going to get started. But that's not the big one. However, the big one is 52,000 on the weekly time frame, right? So if we throw this on a weekly fib, why is it so hard to see on the weekly? If we drag this up on the weekly, the 618, yep, that's coming in at 52,000. So that's the real one we got to be aware of. And we do have our first lower low on the weekly. And now what are we looking for? That lower high, right? And so in that case, on the daily, we can easily play out a rally, over the next week or few weeks. But it'd be very, very important to be aware of if we put in a lower high on the weekly time frame, anywhere around, 52 to 55,000. And then what happens? So if we do something like this, we rally up, boom. Okay, warning, 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 warning. Okay, this is your last chance for love right there. Bitcoin would have to put in a higher low. That would be trend reversal. That would be party back on. That's what I'd want to see if this, that would be our first higher high, and then we'd have a higher low on the weekly time frame, and it would play out on the daily as well. Oops. That would play out on the daily as well. You get our first higher high. And, if we take that fib, oops, what happened there? No. Come on, TradingView. Okay. Come on. Get out of here. So if we take this on the daily, right, and we do the little fib retracement again from our breakdown level, that 0.5 fib right there coming in, and that's the daily breakdown level right there. So our 0.5 is coming in right there at 44,500. So back to the little drawing tools here and just preparing for what could happen, right? So if we come back up and we hit that 618, and then if we break back below the 382, okay, that's going to be your sign. Lights out, and not looking good. Typically, I would look at that as incredibly bearish, and we'd have lower lows and lower highs on the weekly time frame, and that would be honestly very, very bad. But again, back to the weekly trend. The weekly trend. We just put in our first lower low. We just put in that first lower low, and if we get a lower high, I will tell you this, macro trend shifts have correlated perfectly to the macro direction since the dawn of time in Bitcoin. Yes, that is our weekly time frame. At some point, it's not going to work, right? At some point, it's not going to work, but for the last 11 to 12 years, guess what? 100% hit rate. So I'm going to go with that until proven otherwise. And where do you typically see those lower highs come in? Right in at that 618 fib, which is coming in, on the daily time frame. It'd be somewhere between 44 and 48,000. And again, I'll just show you that one more time. It's very important you learn how to draw these things out from the breakdown level. And the 0.5 and the 618, that's somewhere between 45 and 48,000. Okay? So watch out for that level. Be prepared for this, because this could be the most profitable trade for the next 2 years, right? It'd kind of be like this. So that would be identifying what's a macro high, right? You got a macro high. So how do we identify that? You have a lower low and a lower high. Vice versa. Go back to coronavirus dump time. Vice versa. The opposite is right here. This is the opposite. If you could buy the macro low here, how did you identify it? You got your first higher high, higher low. Boom, from 3,300 to 69,000. You got to hold that for a year and a half. You'd be laughing to the bank. All you had to do was buy something, right? Buy something. And in this case, all you'd have to do is short something, right? And that'd be shorting Bitcoin, the king of the cryptos, for all time. Bitcoin rules the market. Okay. Bitcoin rules cryptocurrency land. Anyways, we have one king. One name above every other name. And that's the one that, makes me the happiest. Anyways, I will keep it on cryptocurrency for today. And, talk about, that's what we're talking about. A bull trap, how to identify it, what's on the board, why are things bearish. And we want to be able to adjust our portfolio. And, again, this isn't financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm just showing you what I'm looking at. And if we get this guy to play out and we come up here and then we break back below that 382 fib retracement, that's when I would say, okay, time to look at this as incredibly bearish long-term. When I say long-term, I'm talking about 1 to 2 years, maybe 2.5 years at most. But here's my thought, okay? Here's my thought is, if we do get something like that and the thing does want to, put in the lower high, we're probably going to range between, 45, call it 44, right? 45 and 30,000 for 6 months, right? It's probably not going to break down right away. Just like we saw, back here, right? How long did this take from this breakdown once we tagged the green 55 on the weekly? From February 18 to October of 18, February to October, call it 6 months, we range between 11 and 6,000 for 6 months. So very similarly, Bitcoin could trade between 45 and 30,000 over the next 6 months. And I do like to put out what I think would be our worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario for me, a real way to look at that is going to be this guy, the monthly, right? We talked a little bit about yesterday, the monthly MACD crossing down, pretty bearish. And Bitcoin, the fact is, I'll show you in a second, but this is worst case scenario, the green 55, and you can see since the dawn of time, on Bitcoin, it does like on the monthly to play off that green 55, and I will pull this up on our longest standing chart, BLX, for Bitcoin, and you can see back here multiple times. Actually, let's go with the auto. So green 55 coming in at 22,000 right now. That'll be rising up over time, 22 to 25,000, but you can see a major bounce there. Let's see. Right here, and even over here. Why? A couple more times. 1, 2. Okay, so green 55 on the monthly typically likes to hold it up, and I don't think Bitcoin is over. Even Bitcoin goes to 22 or 25,000. Guess what? I think it's going to be here at least for the next 3 to 5 years, right? I don't like to look out 10 years. I think 3 to 5 years is more reasonable. Quantum computing and all kinds of space age. I mean, for all we know, we're going to be living on the moon in a couple years, right? But let's point out some more hopium on the other side of this trade, because I do want to represent both sides. Hopium, doomium. Hopium, doomium. How do we identify what's going to be the next real move in Bitcoin? And that's why this is so fun, so exciting. That's why you got to know what TA is. That's why we're putting out these videos. That's why we're going to put out some courses. And we do have a video. I hope you check it out. It's on TradingView. Show you how to set up a TradingView account for free, no charges. Just follow along the instructions, 30 minutes. And then you can get in here and start following in on price action yourself. So on the more hopium side, again, on our 5-day chart, again, higher the time frame, the more powerful the signal. We've got a 5-day stochastic turning up for the, actually not turning up yet, but it will have a chance. The 5-day stokes are right here. about to cross up in the next 5 days from a very, very low level. Last time we crossed up there was December, the December lows, and then you had October. That was right off after the September dump there. Okay, and that produced some pretty significant rallies. So maybe we get that $10,000 rally, especially if, what else do we have? 2-day Stokes, they're about to cross up. And the daily Stokes, they just crossed up for the first time since January 8th or January 9th. That, typically good for a bounce, and we're already kind of getting that bounce up to the 9 exponential. So that's the hopium. If all those start to turn up at once, great, okay? If not, the doomium on the other side, on our secondary chart, we got the MACD on the monthly time frame, which is crossing, the MACD, where is it? On the, MACD on the monthly time frame. MACD on the monthly time frame is crossing down for the first time since, the last big cross was June 2018, and line that up with price action, that's January 2018, and the thing killed over quite a bit. And then the time before that is going to be this cross right here. Let's see more accurately. This cross right here started us off, it really confirmed February 2020, and that was right before coronavirus dump time. So we know what happened back then. That's the bearish thing on the board. And what is this telling us right now? So basically, we've got 5 days and 6 hours for Bitcoin to rally up about $20,000 and uncross this baby. And yeah, so that's a little bit concerning. But back to our lower term time frames and our primary chart. I'm going to throw that up here for us, and we're going to go back to our hourly. Let's go back to the 4-hour, and we're coming into this event. And what do we have? We're getting faded here on this blue box here, and I would say right now any kind of a tick below this guy, which looks like we already got it, probably gets us a move back to 37,382. And we could still step it up, but we're getting faded right into the rally here. Mr. Powell looks like he's going to be going on the TV here, probably. I think it's 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, which will be in about an hour my time. So hopefully the video will get posted right about the time the meeting's going off. And yeah, so okay. And what I do like to do is, really stay away from calling anything going into these events. Especially when Bitcoin is rallying into an event like this. If we get any kind of a negative news today, that rally will get faded very easily alongside the stock market little, it's a little pumpy pump before the dumpy dump. And that's what typically happens. The market will do the opposite of what everybody thought. And how are we going to be keeping an eye on this again? Any kind of a 4-hour closure back below, call it 37,000, and I will be looking for this thing to keel back down to at least 34 to 33,000. Okay, if you want to use an hourly basis, I'll be using an hourly time frame. Any kind of a closure below the last wick low right there, some would call it 36,000, right? That's the reason I'd be looking for, and then I would get a breakdown to about anywhere from 34 to 32,000, somewhere in that range. 34 to 33,000. Okay, hopefully I'm getting my words out. Hopefully this is making sense, and I hope you all know I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving any financial advice, but until this event happens, I will not be, I'll be avoiding trading at all costs, right? Until we see the results at the end of today, at the event at the end of the day, I'll be avoiding trading at all costs. At the end of the day, why? Because anything else is just like gambling right now. You want to put money on black, go to Vegas. I don't like to do that. I won't go into my old gambling habits. Needless to say, I haven't been to Vegas in a very, very long time. But what I do know is that if you look at this chart right now, it looks great. Technically, we're getting higher highs and higher lows on an hourly. on the 4-hour, and Stokes are up there, volatility's expanding, everything looks good for a little bit more of a sideways and up move. But Mr. Powell, we don't know what he's going to say, right? And it could easily get cracked down today. If he says something scary, if he says something like, hey, we're going to do 4 more rate hikes and we're going to taper right away, and we think the economy is pretty healthy, and by the way, we think this correction was nothing. So I don't think that's what he's going to say, but if that's how it gets interpreted, that would be especially bad, okay? And the other thing to look at, the only thing I really trust here around these events is our higher term time frames, like the weekly and the monthly. And I would say any kind of a, geez, can I get a little help here? Can the lines just line up a little bit? What I would say is here on the monthly, the monthly is going to close here in about 6 days, and any kind of a monthly closure below 40,000 is not going to look good, right? That was our last, that was the last higher low, so to speak, on the monthly time frame. That's not going to look good long term, but that does not mean on the daily time frame that Bitcoin can't put in a rally up to 48 to 52,000, and from 37 to 52. Let's just see where that goes. That's a how much of a rally? That is a 40% rally. Well, if Bitcoin does something like that, some altcoins are going to party during that time, and I think we could have some fun there. But again, worst case scenario, what I really like to have in the back of my mind's eye is, look, what is the worst case scenario? Bitcoin goes to 22 to 25,000. And that's why some people were asking me the other day when Bitcoin dropped down to 33,000, should I buy? What do you think, Chris? Everybody wants to ask me what I think, friends, family, neighbor, everybody. I run into somebody at the gas station, they want to ask me about Bitcoin. Fact is, a lot of people did take a buy, and personally, I took a little stab there too. For a long term, for my long term stack, one of my stacks that I kind of just put on the side and forget about. Why is that? Because you're buying a macro dip. I mean, look how big that dip is. It doesn't matter in Bitcoin's history. If you bought after the price fell 50%, you did pretty good. Because what does Bitcoin always do? At some point, even if it goes back to 20,000, guess what? It's going to go back and make new all-time highs. New all-time highs, and that's why I think it's worth taking a shot at some point. But on the other side of the coin, could things get real bearish and get a wick down to 17,000? I'd probably love to take a stab there on my next shot, or even at 22 or 25. What do I want to swing back to at this point here is our underlying market dynamics. We've been talking about this guy, open interest. One of the things to, another very important, underlying market dynamic. This is all the leverage positions in the market right now. Currently, we've got how much open interest on the board. Well, that'll tell us right now we're coming in, what does it say here? $10.2 billion on the board. And what we have seen is anytime we get above 13 billion in Bitcoin's history, which we did get back here in December, we've seen nothing less than a 30 to 50% correction. Okay, and where would that put us down? We were saying a reset likely to happen somewhere around, maybe 10 billion. I'm going to, walk it back a little bit and say that a real reset. So the summer low was 5 billion. The December low was 8 billion. So if we can get open interest to come somewhere between 5 and 8 billion, that would be a great area to let me know. Reset, low in, worth getting long. But that's just my opinion. Okay. The global leverage ratio. The other thing we want to. It says, hey, there's probably some more, massive price action to come. It's at an all-time high. If people are levered to the hill right now, guess what? There's a big volatile move going to come. The other thing, funding rates are negative right now, so you are getting paid to hold your long positions, and when funding rates get really, really low, this is kind of inconsequential at this point. But when they're low, that's typically a good buy. When they're high, above 0.1%, then that's a sell. Okay? Fear and greed index. Why do we look at this thing? Well, we've been saying since the December dump that the fear and greed index would want to be in the extremely fearful zone, right? All the retailers extremely fearful for 30 to 60 days. And what do you know? We're coming upon that 60-day mark. Could it go another 30 days? I absolutely think so. And I do think if we got in the single digits, that would be something I'd like to see. So yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap it up on the shorter term time frames with this. And again, just reiterate, it's real simple here. We got our blue boxes of peace and prosperity and death and despair. Any kind of, really, I should move the blue. Oh, this is death and despair, right? This is like hourly time frame, like fun stuff. This is your death and despair. You know, closing back below 31. I would say below 33 on the hourly, but really on a 4-hour, yeah, any kind of a 4-hour closure below 32, call it 33,000, and I'm going to look for that move to play out down to the low 30,000s. Okay. And other than that, you know, one of my rules as a trader, you know, typically I'm going to close out all my positions here about a half a day before going into an event like this. And then what I'm going to look for is the 15 to 30 minutes after the event. And that's where there's usually some very easy trades to be had. Yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for Bitcoin today. Dixie, last thing. The dollar, the good old dollar, the good old Dixie, symbol DXY, and this thing's in a macro bullish uptrend, and that's not good for stocks, and it's not good for Bitcoin, because when dollar is strong, it's bad for risk on assets. Anyways, we are talking about any kind of a daily closure back above this guy. We're going to get a move most likely towards 98, and then on the macro schedule, we already took a fib retracement, and on the macro target here over the next, you know, this could take 3 to 6 months, a year, but I am expecting this guy to head up to $1, as all the other countries around the world are having massive financial crises alongside our own, right? The dollar is going to be stronger. Why is the dollar the strongest currency in the world? Don't you forget it. You want to know why? We got 10,000 nukes backing, and forgive Joe Biden. I mean, gosh. I have great hopes for America, and after watching his little episode on Fox News, I still have great hope for America and for my family and for my friends. But boy, I almost played a clip of how he was acting. Poor guy. Poor guy. We need to pray for Joe Biden. Pray for Joe Biden. Anyways, wrapping it up, NASDAQ getting a big bounce here into this rally. We did talk about that. I mean, target hit, and here's what I don't like though. On our shorter term time frames, we got nothing. Right? This thing, as long as we're below this guy, it's nothing. And if any kind of a negative news here today, this rally easily gets faded. And same thing on the S&P. And we did. I was talking about this move yesterday with a friend of mine. It was so easy. Nice. It was like taking candy from a baby. But what's going on now? We're being held out here probably before the meeting. We got about another hour until that meeting hits. But NASDAQ is giving it away. Down 2.3% today. NASDAQ, the general, has been leading this market. And, you know, I do think it does get another little downside move. And so this is just a little pump before a dump. And the S&P, same thing, getting stopped out. Last chance for love. These levels right here, you know, this has got to hold, right? Same thing for S&P, you know, any kind of an hourly closure, even an hourly closure below 42.12, and I think that next target is going to get hit, which, what are a lot of people talking about on this guy? Since we've been in a generational rally, let's just use a fib. Let's use a bearish fib retracement from this low to this low. Okay, next target. Why don't we map it out here? Why don't we mark it off? and see if we can get down to that level. Boom. And guess what? That's usually just the first stop. The second stop, 3,200. What does that line up with on the NASDAQ? Again, we use a bearish fib retracement. And where's that going to put our next level? Boom, right there. And I would probably just, call it there. We get a nice little blue box of peace and prosperity, or death and despair, anywhere, below this guy, and boom. I mean, this thing, that's what Mr. Grantham, the guy, I forgot if that's exactly his name, but there are some people talking about moves back, 50% retracements in the stock market right now. I don't necessarily think that is the case today. I'm forget me, I'm not a stock guy, but what would a 50% retracement look like from the high to the next low? Yeah, that would bring us almost down to the coronavirus dump time levels, and that might be the reset that we need. I think that would hurt us, so let's just forget about that. I want new all-time highs in stocks. I want new all-time highs for everybody and for Bitcoin. With that, hope you all have a blessed, wonderful, highly favored day. If you are interested in diversifying with cryptocurrency or learning how to set up a TradingView account, we have a free investor guide. We've got links in the description below. You can click on them, use them for free. They're all free. And I look forward to speaking with you guys soon. Have a great day. Take care.